Welcome to Your Food Looks Funny. I am Marcus T, and today's episode is Just Dessert Part 2.
I'm not eating that.
So today is a continuation of the winter theme that I like to coin as just dessert. Just dessert. So a lot of warm feelings arise when it gets cold outside. I like to bake in this time. It's good to have the oven on, keep some extra warmth in the house, but it also gets those different smells spread throughout the house. And with that said, this episode is basically going to be like the cinnamon all-stars of baking. Now, these aren't fully traditional things. These are shortcuts to get you the cinnamon favorites of holiday time, and also a couple bonus items that I have at the end of this episode for some group activities to do for your family and to help decorate some stuff. So stay tuned for that at the end. But for right now, we're going to jump right into donuts. Now, donuts aren't a normal thing you hear of that families do for Christmas. But let me tell you why you should. Because it's very easy, the way I'm going to tell you. And not only is it easy, but what time of day are donuts not good? I'll wait. That's right. There's no time where donuts aren't acceptable. Obviously, they aren't as healthy as they should be for you. But hey, we're not talking health. We're talking baked goods. So donuts. Normally, there's this long process you have to go through. If you're making donuts, unless you're making cake donuts, which are just baked in a pan, you got to do all this fermentation with the yeast and let them rise and roll them out and do all this. We're going to skip all that today, okay? You're going to go to the store, or you might have one already in your refrigerator. Get you a can of biscuit dough. So the can that you pop open with the spoon after you've ripped part of the paper off? That's what we're using for biscuits. But don't think of it as biscuits, because if you think of it as biscuits, you're going to completely throw off what we're going for here. These are donuts, people. This is donut dough. They've done all the work for you. All your leavening agents and everything are already in there. No yeast needed. You take out your donuts, you separate them, you roll them a little flat, you cut the centers out, you save those. Don't throw those away. That's your donut holes now. You're going to heat up some oil to 350, whether you have a small deep fryer or a pan on the stove. Fry them. Takes a couple minutes to fry them. You dab a little oil off. You either toss them in some cinnamon sugar, or there's an easy glaze that you can make using powdered sugar, maybe a little milk or water, and some vanilla. That easy. Just dip them in there. Enjoy them warm. You don't have to wait for the sign to come on at Krispy Kreme.
Come on.
That easy. And once I go through this one and the next thing that I'm about to mention, I will put a couple recipes that I reference for these said instructions underneath this post on yourfoodlooksfunny.com. So if you want to go and reference the actual recipes, again, it's only a few ingredients that you need. Most of the stuff is already in your house. If you don't have biscuit dough, it's usually over by like the milk and the pre-baked or pre-separated baked goods and stuff like that. Very easy to find, but I'll put the references to the recipes underneath this post on the website. So check it out there. The next thing that we're going to get into involves almost the same process. So you're going to use biscuit dough. There's also a way to use like the cinnamon roll dough, but I figure it adds a little bit too much sugar sometimes. So we're just going to use biscuit dough again, but with a few extra added ingredients: some melted butter, some cinnamon, and possibly some raisins. Hey, before you say,
I'm not eating that.
it's optional. The raisins, and also this recipe that I'm going to reference, has walnuts in it. If you don't like nuts or you don't like raisins, you don't have to add them. They're not a critical item when it comes to monkey bread, which is what we're talking about here. So all you need is a pan. It doesn't have to be a specific type of pan, but I like to use a bundt pound cake pan. That way it's kind of cooks evenly in the center and on the outside. You're going to toss in your biscuit dough with some of the butter, the brown sugar. The recipe that I'm going to post on the site actually has, you put the dough in and then you pour the butter and sugar mixture over top of it. So it's kind of a personal preference of how you want to do it. But like I've talked about in a previous episode about how to follow a recipe, if you're going to use the recipe that I reference, just do it the way they say it. But if you don't like raisins or nuts, you can omit those. And it says optional on the recipe. So feel free to let those go if you want to. But for the purposes of making the rest of the parts of this recipe, just follow it like it says. That way you don't say, hey, Marcus told me to do this or said I could do this and it would work. I didn't say that. Okay? I didn't write the recipe. So don't hold me accountable if you decide to stray from what it says. So, 2 quick and easy recipes using biscuit dough. How easy is that, right? How easy is it to just buy something? If you want to get more elaborate with your family, that's on you. Right now, I don't want to walk you through a long process of what you're going to have to do in order to make donuts from scratch or make monkey bread from scratch. Most of the time I see people make monkey bread, it's not from scratch. And just in case I didn't define exactly what monkey bread is, it's basically a big, very sticky cake, but instead of eating it like a slice, you just pull pieces of it off. Okay, make sure everybody washes their hands before you partake in this too. We don't want anything else spreading. It's starting to get cold outside. Vaccines are just starting to ship out. We don't need anything happening between now and then. Wash your hands 20 seconds. We appreciate you. Moving on past those couple of cinnamon related desserts. Again, if you decide to toss your donuts in cinnamon sugar or some type of glaze, that's your option. I like it both ways every now and then. But 2 other things that I have pertaining Christmas, some bonus items here. So Christmas is next Friday. So I figured I'd do this one just like I did the Thanksgiving episode, giving you a week and some change ahead of time to process the information that I'm giving you. So normally episodes come out on Wednesday. I didn't want to do this one next Wednesday and then have Christmas 2 days from now and you miss out on the information. I want to give you as much time as possible to process the information and give your family some more things to do in the house, since you're probably going to be in there just like you have been for months now. Okay? So these couple of things that I'm going to reference are very simple, just like the other 2 recipes that I referenced. They are food related, but in this case, they're things that you're probably not going to eat. You're going to use them as decoration. So there are a couple different types of ornaments. This one I saw on an episode of, I watched the show on HGTV called My Lottery Dream Home. So on this show, he wasn't finding houses for people. It was a holiday special where he was bringing his family down and he was making all of these decorations in this rental house that he had got. And for one of the decorations, he had one of his assistants making these ornaments that smelled like cinnamon. They look like gingerbread, but it's no ginger, it's just cinnamon. And I remember making these when we were like in the 3rd or 4th grade, and we had it for years. We put it on our tree every year, and every year it still smelled like cinnamon. It smelled so good, and they were so simple to make, but I couldn't remember how we did it. So when they did it on this episode of My Lottery Dream Home, it just brought back so many memories. And then I realized how easy it was. Now, it involves an ungodly amount of cinnamon, but that's only half of the recipe. So it's cinnamon and it was applesauce. And for the love of me, I couldn't figure out how the science worked on this. But I didn't overthink it. I just let it ride. I watched them do it. They put a jar of applesauce and like a cup of cinnamon into this bowl and just mixed it together until it became a big dough ball. And then they rolled it out. They used, like regular cookie cutters and some stamps to form different patterns on it that were like Santa Claus and snowflakes and some other stuff. And then they just let them dry. And the other alternative is you can put them in the oven at like 200 degrees and let them go. And again, I have another recipe for this particular ornament that I'll put on the site underneath the same post. So right now you're going to have the donut recipe that I referenced, the monkey bread recipe that I referenced, the cinnamon ornament recipe that I referenced. And again, finishing up on the cinnamon ornament is just cinnamon, applesauce, and then you punch a hole in it before it fully dries. That way you can put ribbon through it, and then you make ornaments that smell great on your tree. So it's just going to smell like a cinnamon tree, basically. If you don't like cinnamon, what's wrong with you? But cinnamon, that smell, it just lasted for years. I'm not exaggerating. For at least 6 or 7 years, I remember us decorating the tree with that ornament. I don't know where that ornament is now, but if I could find it, it would probably still smell like cinnamon to this day. But it was great. moving on to the next thing, and again, I'll put that on the website, so look there for, getting more nostalgia. If you ever did that as a kid too, it's probably going to be something we do next week, me and my wife, in order to decorate our tree or my mother-in-law's tree. It just smelled great. The next thing was something I haven't done, but I saw it on the same episode, this holiday special of My Lottery Dream Home. It was these dried orange ornaments. So again, you don't need anything other than an orange and an oven. One you probably already have in your house. If you don't have an oven, yeah, I have no comment. I have no comment if you don't have an oven. You might live in some small efficiency with a hot plate or something. I'm not judging or anything. I'm just saying most people have an oven. But hey, cinnamon is not involved in this one, but it does balance well with orange. They're very good flavors to balance off of each other. At some points during the year when it starts to get cold, restaurants and hotels, instead of putting out like water with fruit infusion like they do in the summer, they'll switch over to apple cider. And when we were making apple cider in our restaurant, we would put out the apple cider and we would put orange slices and cinnamon sticks in it because the flavors balance off of each other so well. You get that warm feel from the cinnamon, and then you get the citrus balance from the orange. So if you do the cinnamon ornaments that I referenced a second ago, and you do these dried orange slices, so you just cut an orange really thin, you dry it out in the oven at like 200 degrees for a couple hours, and then you hang, it with, a hook or with ribbon if you want. The cinnamon and orange smell breaks up so nicely together on your tree. So now it's just not everything's a warm feeling. You have some brightness to it, and they almost give like a stained glass effect when you put it on your tree. And to me, seeing food on a tree just kind of makes me feel more at home. So again, I know people do like the whole popcorn garland things and stuff. This is more my speed. The cinnamon applesauce ornaments and the dried orange ornaments, along with the stuff we referenced, the cinnamon donuts, which only take a can of biscuits, and the same thing with the monkey bread. All of this stuff, I will have 4 links on the website to reference all of these items so that you can check them all out, try some of them out. Let me know, how they went. I'll post some stuff on social media about what we did. I'm sure my wife will love to take 300 pictures of all the stuff that we're doing for Christmas because it's her favorite time of year. And that's pretty much it for what I have for this episode. So next week, I'll probably do a conclusion to Just Dessert of some things that we're implementing for next week for Christmas. And I'm not sure yet if I'll lean towards maybe cookies or cakes next week, but it'll probably be one of those two. And then we'll get into some stuff to wrap up the year shortly after that and going into 2021, which hopefully will be a little bit better than the year we've had. Although I haven't been disappointed with how this year has gone so far. I got a chance to start this podcast. Check out the website, yourfoodlooksfunny.com, for all of the links that I posted on there. Donate to the show, check out the merch, and I'll see you guys next week.